Hey everyone, you're listening to the Fantasy Football Uptick. I'm Jeremiah Blue, and today we're going to be talking about the top two rookie receivers in this year's draft class. Those two being Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb. So first thing I'm going to get into is format. So depending on what kind of format you're in, I would take Jeudy this year in standard as my number one of the two rookies. If you're just going to do a redraft, standard and PPR, half point PPR, I honestly doesn't change because being receivers, they're both going to be heavily involved with receptions. I think that CeeDee Lamb is actually just so much better of a receiver. He's more of a sure thing to be an elite receiver going forward, right? So if we're doing a dynasty draft, regardless of what format, whether it be standard, half point PPR, PPR, I'm going to lean Lamb because I think, and we're going to get into why. And then if we're talking about a redraft league this year, this coming season, I will rank Jeudy. Mostly because I think the opportunity is going to be there, but again, we'll talk about that as we go down the list, right? So the first thing we're going to discuss is the teams they landed on, right? So one landed on the Dallas Cowboys, one landed on the Denver Broncos. So if we just take last year into account, we look at last year, the Cowboys threw for 4,902 yards, and the Denver Broncos threw for 3,401. So right off the bat, just comparing the two offenses, or at least passing games, we got 1,500 yards that the Cowboys threw for last year. Now, that being said, I think that this year is going to be a little different. First of all, the Cowboys last year were relatively historic, right? So since 2004, and I just looked at the ESPN real quick on the total yards, so I didn't really, I'm sure it was even further back. I doubt 2003 there was an offense like that, or 2002. So I don't really know how far back this goes, but I did it up through 2004. So since 2004, there's only been 3 teams that have put together total yardage, which was what the Cowboys did with rushing, because they still got Ezekiel Elliott. Elliott's still going to get his rushing yards, and Dak, total yardage, 6,900 yards. That's only happened 3 times since 2004. So the Cowboys did it last year. The Peyton Manning-led Broncos did it in 2013, and then the Saints did it in 2011. So to bank on the Cowboys having that kind of historic offensive yardage total is not really smart. So we're going to go into a bunch of these numbers. Again, we're comparing what happened last year. They got a new coaching staff there. I think it's going to be an improvement, more efficient. But I don't know necessarily that I'm going to bank on them having another 5,000 or yard passing season just because they did it last year. Because again, Zeke's going to get his. Running the ball is going to be still what the Cowboys want to do, even though they're going to be running 3 receiver sets a little bit more, which again will lead towards Lamb. But let's go through the numbers real quick. So the Cowboys have Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper. And really the reason for this season, I don't think that Lamb is going to be as good as Jeudy in fantasy formats, is not because I don't think Lamb's a better receiver, because I did coming into this draft, and I know I'm a Cowboys fan, but prior to this, the Cowboys taking Lamb, because I did not think the Cowboys were going to land Lamb in the 17th pick. I actually didn't think we were going to go after a receiver till second round at the earliest. I thought for sure we would go defense in the first round, but when Lamb was there, Jerry Jones pulled the trigger. So that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong, Lamb was my number 1 rated receiver going into the draft. That being said, the opportunity here is really more of a Michael Gallup issue. Michael Gallup is really, really good, right? So we already know how good Amari Cooper is. There's really just not an opportunity here for CeeDee Lamb. While I think CeeDee Lamb will eventually be better than Michael Gallup and honestly Amari Cooper at some point, I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be good. This is nothing against CeeDee Lamb, but his rookie year, it's going to be hard to crack those two target share because of how good I believe those two players are, right? So yes, he's going to fill in for what Randall Cobb basically did last year, which Randall Cobb accounted for 828 yards. But, I mean, if we're comparing Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, people don't realize this, actually was on the field more than Amari Cooper last year, just in pure snap shares, and he missed 2 games. Amari Cooper missed 1. So, and he played in it, but he left basically early in that game. So really, Michael Gallup is basically 1A and 1B. Like they're both ones on that team. And now you're adding a third one. Like this is going to be elite. So when I did my big winners from the draft, I brought up Dak Prescott because he gets another number 1 receiver. Now, dynasty-wise, again, Lamb, if you look at the tape and you look at what they're good at and what their strengths are, Lamb's strength is he attacks the football. right? So he attacks the football. He's one of the best I've seen to attack the football, like Steve Smith kind of. He's bigger than Steve Smith, obviously, but he's very similar to the way he attacks the football when it's in the air. He catches it away from his body. He's really good in the contested catch situations. When I watch Jeudy, he's an excellent route runner. He really is. And I'm going to say some bad things about Jeudy. And what I mean by that is things that are almost negative, but don't get it twisted. I do understand how good of a route runner Jeudy is. He's just playing in an offense surrounded by so much. He's got Tua. He's got the 2 receivers on the outside. One of Ruggs being drafted this year. He wasn't even the best receiver on his own team. So the fact that, and he played a lot in the slot and without very much press coverage throughout the whole year. He really hasn't seen a lot of press coverage throughout his career, really. So that's where we see he's got so much room to run pre-snap, post-snap. So he's always wide open. If you go and look at his big plays, he's just open all the time. And I get that a lot of that comes from route running. I'm not dogging his route running at all. Don't misunderstand me. Just because he has the opportunity to be open all the time, add his route running. But in the NFL, he's going to have to be going up against man press coverage, against better corners. He's not going to have that much space. He really didn't make that many contested catches. In fact, he dropped a lot of balls when they were contested, right? He's got the speed. He's got the quickness. He's great in and out of cuts when he's going full motion. I think he's the best in this draft class at that. And I think he's probably the most NFL ready from an understanding route combination situation. But just because he's a great route runner does not mean CeeDee Lamb is not a good one, right? Yes, he's a little bit more developed than CeeDee Lamb in that department. CeeDee Lamb is better at attacking the football, he's got better hands. I don't think anybody would deny that. He's better after the catch. He's got like eyes in the back of his head, because as soon as he catches the ball, he's always making the right decision. He was the best from a receiver perspective in the league after the catch last year, just how many tackles he was breaking. I mean, just watch any time he went up against Texas, which, again, I'm a Texas fan, and you get to see how many tackles he breaks and how many big plays he makes because he knows how to – he's basically a running back once he gets the ball in his hands. And I know that combine-wise he's slower, but he plays faster. He's more laterally quick than the 40-yard dash is letting you know. He plays fast on the field. And by the way, 4.5 is nothing to scoff at. He's not like super slow either. 4.5 isn't slow even for a wide receiver. He's 6'2", and he plays aggressive. Now, the biggest issue for Lamb would be first of all, he's kind of small. He's not overly athletic, but the way he plays big. So all he's going to do once he gets to the NFL is get bigger and get more developed in the route running. Like, he's going to turn into a Jeudy when it comes to route running at some point. He's going to develop his route running, right? Whereas Jeudy, on the other hand, he's already a really intelligent football player. You don't just magically become better at catching the football, better at those things that Lamb is already good at. That's natural. Those are things that you either got it or you do not. So when it comes to dynasty, I think Lamb eventually surpasses Jeudy. Now, situationally, let's go back real quick. So I talked about the Dallas Cowboys and their passing, and now I don't expect them to have the same kind of. It would be dumb to plan on them being the top offense once again in the NFL, right? You don't plan on that. You don't plan on 3 receivers getting 1,000 yards. And if I project CeeDee Lamb to be the 3rd receiver in that order, you can't really go, okay, the upside here, right? Whereas with the Broncos, it's basically Sutton and nothing else. I think Drew Lock's going to improve. They improved the offensive line. They brought in Melvin Gordon. They improved the running game. They brought in Pat Shurmur, who I really like. He runs a lot of 3 receiver sets. So again, Jeudy's going to be on the field immediately and as the number 2 guy. Then they brought in KJ Hamler. Now, the thing with him is he's not really a reception hog. What he's going to do is he serves a purpose. He's going to create the spacing that is needed in the offense which Shermer really excels at developing plays to do that and balancing out the running. That's what the 3 receiver set really does, balancing out the rushing attack with these 3 receivers. Get one guy who can really stretch the field, and then you still got Sutton, who's taking away the number 1 receiver. And now what's going to end up happening is Jeudy's going to be very similar to what he was in Alabama. He's going to be not necessarily an afterthought, but he's going to have space to operate, which, being that he's already a developed route runner, that's going to be great. So right off the bat, he's more NFL ready. I mean, he dropped passes his senior year, right? If you look at Lamb has never, according to Pro Football Focus, in the 3 years he was at Oklahoma, just hear this, listen to this, has never dropped a pass over 20 yards. Never in 3 years dropped a pass over 20 yards. And he had 3 different quarterbacks. Now, granted, they were all good, but Jeudy was playing with Tua for most of his career, or at least the last 2 of the years that we're really looking at, what kind of receiver is he? He played with Tua the whole time, right? But you take CeeDee Lamb, had to play with Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and then Jalen Hurts, which, again, all good. They're all taken in the top 2. 2 of them were the first pick of the draft, and then, of course, Hurts was taken in the second round. But he was also facing double teams constantly, and just the fact that he's done it with 3 different quarterbacks, he was very successful with all 3 quarterbacks, which is something that I like. Now we know he's going to a situation where they have an established quarterback. Yes, the contract with Dak, he's going to sign in Dallas, right? So he's going to have an established quarterback throughout basically his whole career. Whereas on the other end, we got Drew Lock. Now, I like Drew Lock. I think Drew Lock will get better. I think John Elway surrounded him with a lot of talent, and I think he's got a real opportunity to succeed. I have him in a Superflex Dynasty League, which I'm really looking forward to him helping me this year and developing, but we're not as sure about that as we are about the Dak thing. Dak's already an established, good quarterback. He's going to be in Dallas for a really long time. And like I said, Rona, he's going to be in Dallas for the remainder of the CeeDee Lamb probably contract, because quarterbacks usually last a little longer than receivers. On the other end, we don't know if in 2 years they're like, we got to move off the Drew Lock experiment, and then you're just constantly bringing in these rookie quarterbacks, and then Jeudy's being affected by that because Sutton's probably going to be there. On the other end, Gallup in 2 years is probably going to go because he is so good, and they're either going to get rid of him or they're going to get rid of Cooper, but CeeDee Lamb's still going to be under his rookie contract, so they're probably going to end up going with just 2 receivers once you start having to pay these guys, right? So, again, long-term, I see CeeDee Lamb I thought was already more talented, and he's going to be better moving forward. Short-term, I think the numbers clearly show that there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Jeudy during that first season in comparison to CeeDee Lamb. So, anyways, that's it for today's show. Hopefully you liked the show. If you did, like, subscribe. Till next time, see ya!